Somebody killed Kenner, and it was
Uh,
Hasbro. Hello, Tom.
Dana, did you hear the news?
No.
Apparently, it was Colonel Mustard in the bathroom with the candlestick, the candelabra,
Okay, yeah.
a pint of acid. I'm not sure
Oh,
what he did. I'm not sure
yeah.
what he. Not sure how he did it.
A bag of lime and a shovel.
There should have been a Batman version of Clue. Is there a Batman version of Clue?
Oh,
And if
that
there
would be
isn't,
good because
how
he's
is there not?
the detective. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Killer Croc in Arkham with a chain. Like, it just
Yeah.
you can just guess, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That is a thing that happened. I guess there's multiple versions of Clue for this round.
Right. I know there are a lot of different monopolies and other life. We played
Yeah.
Jurassic Park Life that one time, which was kind of fun.
Oh, that's right.
Hmm.
Well, you should have been able to get a car full of raptors at the end. Like, a lot of people would rather have that than children. I remember the
Quite a
old
road trip.
version. Remember the old version of life where like you finish the end and then you could like trade your kids in for money. That's like
Well,
the
you can sell them
bonus.
on eBay or whatever. Could
That's
work.
still doable. If you're on international waters, doable.
Right.
But I guess we
Yes.
shouldn't. I guess we shouldn't be talking
Yes.
about
And ready to
international.
finish up our next episode of Two Guys Trafficking Children.
Yikes! You're gonna get us. You're gonna get us kicked off in the international waters.
Yeah.
For
I mean, two guys talking toys. Two guys talking
two
life.
guys, two guys talking life and toys. Episode not 100. Not yet.
Not yet.
We're not there yet. We're getting there.
We're getting
Not
on
quite
it.
yet. We'll be in the 99s till we feel like we don't want to be. So that's a thing. For what reason?
Right.
I don't know. Just
Maybe,
seems like a fun thing
we'll
to do.
go to 100th episode when we have 100 subscribers. So there you go.
Oh, we're
Loyal
getting there.
listeners, motivate your friends. Buy them a cup of Joe and say, check out Two Guys Talking Toys. A couple of the guys that were at trivia last week, I know they checked it out. So thank you guys for that.
Oh, fantastic! I hope they're listening now. Well, not
Yeah.
like now, but like after.
Yeah, that would be creepy. But like after we record, yeah.
I don't want them sitting outside with like one of those devices that has the little listening thing on it.
Right. And they're
What
good. They're good at trivia. They compete. So I should do Two Guys Talking Toys trivia questions and give them a leg up.
On what episode did Tom admit that he hates Thor? This one. That's not true. I don't hate
Right.
Thor. I just hate Love and Thunder. What a
How
terrible
canst
film.
thou thus for shame glance upon the credit of Thor?
How dare I? Forsooth.
Did you get anything new this week?
I sure did. This was actually a thing that I got in the mail and decided to open it before the show, which is a rare thing.
Wow.
I know. So this is I'm
Nice.
following.
Oh, you got the black jacket.
Yeah, I'm following your footsteps with the animated McFarlane Jason Todd, who looks amazing. And
Yeah.
I have the Mafex version of this, which is excellent. It's really good. But I was not expecting this to pop up, and again, like I feel like we are both fairly critical and of praise of McFarlane. He's got some good things that he does, and he's got some pretty ridiculous things that he does. But he's, man, Red Hood is one of my favorite Batman characters, and not just because he's edgy and cool, and I'm not one of those guys who's like, I like Jason Todd before he gets killed, but the Red Hood character,
Nobody did. That's why he got
liked
killed.
him. Nobody liked him. What a great, with X number of years that had passed, what a great moment in comic history, just for like how interesting it was that DC had no intentions of killing him off, and they completely did not expect that result to happen, and yet they still honored it. They're not like Pepsi.
Right.
They will honor their obligations and actually killed him off. And they're like, oh yeah, all right, you really,
Right.
you all right, fine, we'll kill him, we'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like a weird hostage situation.
Right. I love the story. Like, they're in Sarajevo. Sure, why not?
Yep, we'll just wipe him out. Fine, you asked for it, you're gonna get it. but I've always loved the way the character was reintroduced, well, quote unquote reintroduced in Hush, and then the way they, because of the fanfare of it, and you just weren't expecting it, and how they kind of bent backwards and jumped through some hoops to actually bring Jason Todd back. And it's one of the most well done stories that they've ever done.
Right.
And I've always loved the character, and I love like the trauma behind him, and there's a lot of like well written Jason Todd stories. So any version of him, because it was maybe like once every couple of years there'd be a Jason Todd figure or a Red Hood figure, and it was really hard to get a hold of. There's that Toy Fair exclusive that was really hard to come by. And I just started collecting them. There was a Red Hood version that would appear. I would get them. But then McFarlane, sometimes our interests align. Todd McFarlane clearly loves Jason Todd, because there are now so many Red Hood figures that he's done.
Right.
I don't think that I own them all. I think I missed out on a couple.
Well, there's the one I have of that one is a brown coat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, holy cow. You did say that this is yours, the McFarlane Platinum Edition, which apparently mine is.
I don't know.
Yes, the includes exclusive comic book Red Hood Platinum Gold Star Black Jacket Edition, which almost makes me sad, because now I kind of want the brown version too.
You know, I even liked the video game Arkham Knight story.
Yes, yeah, that was a good storyline, and I want the Red Hood from the Arkham series. I don't know if I have that one, but yeah, it hit the point where there was just so many of him being cranked out that I think that I have most of them, but I don't think that I have all of him, and it becomes tricky now because I've got a bunch in storage, so I need to kind of go back and double check. And now that I don't know exactly where McFarlane stands with DC. I know that the license went to Mattel.
Yeah.
So Mattel got the license back. But
they
I
could
think
both have it, though. They could both keep. I mean, how many people have the Ninja Turtle line and the Masters of the Universe line and the,
you know who has the Ninja Turtles license now? McFarlane.
Everyone.
Also has to be. You and I, special announcement, everybody. We just got the Ninja Turtles license. What are we going to do with it? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Puffy stickers for our notebook.
Two guys talking turtles.
Mm-hmm.
So I did get him, and because I opened one package. I opened one package, but not this one.
Here come the skizzers.
I do not know. Yes, good old, the handy standby. They are fantastic. I mean, I'm using them mostly because I, for the life of me, can't remember where my X-Acto blade went.
I don't want you to use an X-Acto blade.
Things get wild and out of hand.
One, you have a history of cutting yourself with an X-Acto blade, and two, you wield those scissors like a drunken 5-year-old, and I don't.
Just be glad that I'm not running around the apartment with them, which I very well may possibly have done before the show started, because I didn't have them with me. Have them nearby, so I had to run and grab them.
Running with sharp objects.
Let's see what we've got here. We got packing material that will be reused when I sell more things. Oh, okay. I forgot that I did this.
I saw Masters of the Universe.
So I got this.
Oh, another one.
This is back from. You sound so unenthused. More of those.
Tom bought multiple of a figure.
Tom bought multiple Snake Men, the things that he loves the most. Clear-ish that little Snake Men. This box has been sitting around since these first went on sale on online. And I remember when I first realized that Entertainment Earth had them in stock, and I was like, "Oh, holy cow, they're in! I gotta get them. I gotta get more. Wait, I need 2 more." So this has been. I received the package, and then it was just sitting around for a while. But this just means that now my Rat Lord will be taller than Stiltman, because he was a very stupid Build-A-Figure, and I don't know why that's what he was.
I concur.
But everyone needs more Rat Lords. I'm convinced that once this line is over, and I guess with the Ninjor line with Clamp Champ and Ninjor, and the rest of them. I guess it's technically old because I mean they're moving on to Masters of the Universe and Thundercats, which I'm very excited about. But man, I really wish they would continue. I hope that I kind of hope that if Thundercats does well, if that crossover does well, we get maybe like 2 years of them. And I kind of hope they go back to this because there's for all the stuff that we've got, for all like the really cool versions that we
with
got,
anything, and you'd be all about it.
Oh,
like, they crossed Ninja Turtles and the Brady Bunch.
I would want to see how Mr. Brady would handle 4 wild pizza-loving teens in addition to his own family. And where would Splinter stay? Would he get along with Alice?
And would he have hair of gold?
That's a good question. Would Alice chase him with a broom? Because that is a thing that would happen in the 80s. But yeah, I hope that this line continues. There's so many other characters that could be crossed over. There's so many. Like they did a pretty good. They got a good cluster of them, but there's so many more. And there's so many other characters that they could be fused with. And I lost my mind and made about 40 some odd fan art crossovers of them. So nice. If anyone is interested in the weird things that go on in my head and the fan art that I do, I'll post a link in the show notes. You can see a whole bunch of weird Ninja Turtle, He-Man crossover ideas that I popped up with. And hopefully you'll enjoy those. So, what did you get?
I'm ready to surprise you.
Oh, I'm down for surprises. Just kidding. I
didn't get anything.
Really?
Right. I have nothing new this week.
I have to insert the whammy noise right now. Have something do a little whammy dance across the screen.
Yeah.
You can be like, I had a bunch of things that I bought, but then I pressed the button and it landed on bankrupt, so a whammy came and took all my toys.
Yeah, I've been so busy this week.
You got a lot of stuff you've been responsible for. That stinks.
Yeah.
The world is a sadder place when
I
Dana
don't get toys.
Is not able to get toys. These are the things that bring us joy and should be enjoyed every week.
Speaking of things that have brought me joy, I want to talk about the toy line. So we've talked about third party and independent toy companies. We talked about Super 7. Now I want to talk about the company that in 1989 gave us the gift of the Hey Vern, It's Ernest pull string talking doll, Kenner.
Wow, that is a deeper cut than any scissor cut that I have made. Fantastic. I feel like Kenner is one of those companies that has been around for so long that they have created so many toy lines that if you collect toys today, you've had something that Kenner has produced and maybe didn't realize it.
Fantastic lines. Like Kenner was innovative in a lot of ways. Like, so they have a weird history, right? So
yes,
they started in like 1945 or 46.
Yeah.
First out of the gate was like bubble guns and little construction sets, and then they moved into the 60s and gave us an easy bake oven, right?
Man, the easy bake oven.
Yeah, which was a nuclear reactor.
What a just of the time that it came out, what an amazing piece of technology. And then you look at it when you get older and you're like, it's just a light bulb. It's just a light bulb that got really hot. But how many easy bake oven cakes did you eat? Because Lorna and Tanya had one, my sisters had one, and I ate so many light bulb baked pieces of cake.
There's so many middle-aged women now with, you see the little scar on their finger. You're like, you had an easy bake oven.
Yeah. They either help their mother sew and it's just callus from all the pricks from the sewing needle, or easy bake oven.
Right. And so they did that. And then like one time in the 60s, I think like 66, 67, they were bought out by General Mills.
Yes. Of all companies, General Mills, which makes you wonder, where was our mascot line back then? Why do we have to wait for Jada Toys to give us Frankenberry? When Kenner could have been cranking them out.
Yeah. And then they were Kenner Parker Brothers.
Yes.
Right. And
that's right. They spun them out into their they were getting into board games, but they needed like board games as well as toys.
Right. And then in like late 80s, Tonka bought them.
Tonka.
Tonka.
Another company that we should probably do an episode. I have to write that down. We should
Right,
definitely
we
do an
should do
episode on
Tonka.
Tonka.
Yeah, there were some Tonka toys that I really loved when I was a kid. And then in 1991, Hasbro bought them.
Tonka was slayed by Hasbro.
And then Hasbro put the kibosh, like you said, they pulled the General Mustard in the kitchen with the candelabra. And 2000, Kenner was gone. And they came back later on, I don't know, a decade or so later with the Star Wars Vintage line, right?
And I wouldn't say that Hasbro's evil, but they clearly knew that there was this nostalgia for Kenner. And I completely forgot that lines like starting lineup, Beast Wars, Beast Wars and Beast Machine came out under the Kenner, Kenner flag, even though it was clearly like Hasbro was Transformers, and yet these came out under the Kenner line.
Yeah, there were a couple of them like that where they kind of like in my brain when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, was it Kenner? Was it Hasbro? I couldn't really tell. And
Kenner is a very safe bet when you're like, who made this? Was it Kenner?
So many lines, so many of my favorite lines. So I guess obviously we have to start with Star Wars, right? Because they were doing, like in the 70s, they were doing $6 Million Man. They did, in 79, they did the Alien stuff, right?
Yes.
But which didn't go very far. And but their bread like kicked off Star Wars, and what they did with Star Wars that no other line was doing. Like they did $6 Million Man, but there were other 3 3/4 inch lines, but they made it an industry standard. And not only that, but they cornered the market with the bigger universe. I think last week we talked about like if a monster from the Creature Cantina was on the screen for 7 seconds, they got a figure. Like everyone got a figure. Even if you couldn't even find them in the movie, they got a figure. And then the vehicles and the Death Star playset. And like Kenner made the first like collectible toy line universe. Like they filled the whole universe, which was incredible. That's like every kid, every kid in the neighborhood played Star Wars figures. Everyone.
And if you had seen any of the movies, it was amazing to know that at some point, just about any scene that you remember from the film, you could then reenact that with your toys at home. You're like, oh, well, if you really like the scene where Luke gets smacked around by the Wampa, you could do that because there was a Wampa figure and I love that commercial was in fact real and you were not crazy and you did not just imagine it, which is unlike a lot of the things that I recall, which are just a figment of my imagination. And I was like, no, that really happened. What, really?
Right.
It didn't happen. But yeah, I love that there were so many figures that were made that you could have your big battle at the Death Star. You could have Luke fighting Vader on like on the bridge. There was a way to get that scene done, represented in plastic, and then just do it. There really were no other toy lines, especially at that time, that were doing that.
And the one thing that Kenner became known for the next decade after that were toys with action or gimmicks. And it started, in my opinion anyway, with the lightsaber slide in and out of the arm, right? Because that was pretty cool. I don't know why they had the little like there was a lightsaber, then they had the little like fishing lure. There was like this skinny part. I don't know if that was still the Flash from it being, but that arm and you'd slide. So Obi-Wan, Luke, and Vader had that straight arm, and you'd slide the lightsaber, and everyone would be like everybody made the noise, right? But like because their next big line after Star Wars changed the way kids played. I mean, we talked about it in our Star Wars episode, so go back and listen to it, loyal listeners, if you haven't. But Star Wars changed the way kids played, right? You no longer played cops and robbers with you played Star Wars.
Now it was like fantasy adventure. Now it was going to space, and now it was space ninjas or space knights with really cool swords, and you had a wide selection of characters. You could be the lovable scoundrel, or you could be the young up and coming
and that was the the market up like
Hmm.
New Hope when it came out all the way up into 84, 85 with Return of the Jedi. And
Hmm.
then in 84, Kenner set out the Superpowers line that
Yes.
had the action, the squeeze your legs and they do the
Hmm.
thing. And the Superpowers line again um, changed the way we played because we
Yeah.
moved up from the 3 3/4 inch to the 4.5 or whatever they are.
Yeah.
That and the Secret Wars came out, but
And not,
Kenner
and not
did
only,
the superpowers. And again, the vehicles, the play sets, the
yeah.
whole 9 yards. They
And
did it
and
again,
they
created a whole universe.
and they went that extra mile with like we not only were they delivering a lot of product, they also went that extra step of getting in touch with Jack Kirby and having them oversee the design of the actual figure, like the getting like reference sheets, and this figure needs to
Mhm.
look exactly like this, where you could make things that were similar, and you're like, oh well, that's supposed to be so and so, but these were really, especially at the time,
Yeah, they were
really
so
on point.
comic accurate
Yes.
and Super Friends, the cartoon accurate, which followed the cartoon, I mean the
Mhm.
comics. But
Mhm.
yeah, they were fantastic sculpts for that time.
Give me a toy line from Kenner. I, I guess not everything was like a banger, but name
Most
one that,
were, most
yeah,
were.
name one that wasn't. Like name a toy line from Kenner where you're like, oh, that was awful. And I have a hard time. What, maybe
I'll
like the Hug
say
Bugs?
the Fashion Phillies.
I don't recall that line.
They were models, but they were horses, like My Little Pony, but they weren't little and cutesy. They were the Heidi Klum of the equestrian world.
I guess there's got to be somebody out there who is now very upset with you, but there has to be somebody out there who was like, Fashion Phillies needs to come back. Somebody needs to remake Fashion Phillies, and they need to do it now.
Right. There were some
Where,
lines that were weird. A lot of movie lines that you're like, why
Mhm.
did that, like Dragonheart,
Yeah,
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
I like
Um,
that Kenner was really big on parts reuse or
yes,
playset reuse, because wasn't I
the
want to say a lot of
Ewok
that really,
Village.
yes,
It was Sherwood
a
Forest, yeah.
lot of a lot of
And they used that Kevin Costner figure to do Waterworld as well.
and I wonder if that was just, I guess maybe it just seemed more economic to go in that direction, or if maybe they didn't have, maybe the time crunch was really quick because you're doing a toy line for a movie and you've already
Right.
got these assets, and you're like, look, they need Robin Hood. Why won't Kevin Costner stop making movies? Damn it!
Right.
Why,
Where's our Field of Dream figures?
we'll just reuse this for.
I
There you go. Enjoy.
but they were all okay. I just thought of a movie line that Kenner did that the toys were as bad as the movie. No, I'm not going to say they were that bad, but is Congo. Wasn't that Kenner?
Oh, Congo, you are correct. I thought you were going to say Last Action Hero, but remember, I
I'll
remember the
take Last
Congo.
Action Hero over Congo
A
any
lot
day
of
of the week.
lot of reuse on the Last Action Hero, but I remember the Congo toys, and I guess we just weren't quite there yet, where they were not able to create a large scale Amy with a voice chip that said "Amy, good monkey,"
And yeah, right.
with
Even though she
like the hand
wasn't a
gesture
monkey,
with
but
the
yeah,
what a also a weird. Although I guess I can give them credit for RoboCop. The RoboCop line was really good.
RoboCop, Swamp Thing was amazing.
Swamp Thing was great. I loved it.
I
Kenner
loved it
was.
again with the action, like the gimmick, like the RoboCops
Mhm.
had the cap, the
Yeah.
firing cap thing in the back where you'd pull up,
Mhm.
plop, plop, click, 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 and
Yeah.
that was amazing. And it would smoke. That was
The,
cool.
the only thing that I remember being disappointed by with the RoboCop line was kind of not getting enough. We didn't, because I don't if correct me if I'm wrong. Did they make they may have made Ed 209.
They
I don't
did. They
remember they
made
made
Ed
him,
209. They did.
but we did not get Cade, which
No.
disappointed me. But by the time RoboCop 2 came out, maybe they were done with the license. But
Yeah, because the RoboCop figures were based on the animated series.
yes,
They weren't
and
based on the movie. So in the animated series, we didn't
mm,
we didn't have Kane.
that explains why we got the glow in the dark RoboCop. And kudos
Yes.
to Kenner for randomly thinking ahead of the curve. What else can we do? Because like you said, they were big. They were big on the gimmicks, and they'd always managed to work in some kind of interesting action feature, whether it be with
Yeah.
superpowers
Yeah. And
or
Swamp Thing had the hand that would shoot
yeah.
out and you'd reel it back in.
And they're
Yeah.
like, but what else can we do? What if things glowed in the dark? And they weren't the first ones to do
Right.
it, but it was, that kind of gimmick with a popular property that made me want to own them.
Yeah.
Like I mean, RoboCop was fun anyway, but when you glow in the dark RoboCop, yes, please.
Right.
And
Yeah.
slight nod to NECA for replicating that. Like, good,
Right.
good
Yeah.
on them, because I do
Like,
have that RoboCop.
why would RoboCop glow in the dark? Who knows?
No, only to make Tom a happy guy.
Right. Right.
It's the only reason.
But then their little gimmicks got a little cuckoo bananas when they did the real Ghostbusters. Like,
Yes.
the movie came out in what, 84? The cartoon
Mhm.
came out in 86. And then
Yes.
for the next couple of years, and one thing Kenner also did, like they made up new stuff, like
Yeah.
Ghostbusters stuff. But man, there were some really cuckoo bananas action for those figures. That football player.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. The weird football player would like lean over and become like a giant mouth with eyes inside the mouth, like he was from Beetlejuice. Which,
yeah,
he another Kenner line.
Another Kenner line. But yeah, they went cuckoo bananas with the Ghostbusters. They went cuckoo bananas with the Beetlejuice with the swords that went through them.
Yep.
They went cuckoo bananas with Police Academy.
Oh, that's right. He did do Police Academy. And I completely forgot about I guess like the later Ghostbuster figures that had the ecto glow.
Oh, that's right. Anything that glows, Tom's on it.
And
Bill and Ted. They also did Bill and Ted had weird like face things.
Right. They were really ahead of the curve. And I guess that was maybe part of the appeal of the mid to late 80s to early 90s, that you had toy companies that, and I'm sure a lot of it was, you better make these margins or else. So they had to try whatever it is that they could possibly think of. But there was so much creativity that came out of that.
Yeah.
That was just entertaining. And it's not that we don't have that now, but this is like kind of the first time we were seeing these kinds of things, right, as kids or as younger people.
And here's the thing, like Kenner would reinvent itself with every line. And well, they use a lot of parts, like you said, like the Waterworld and the Robin Hood and yada yada. But then you think about, okay, they did Mask, Bear Bears, and the Centurions, right? So, like, there are three things.
What a wild assortment! Like, so many incredibly different type of toy lines with incredibly just widely varying gimmicks and play features, and going from Mask to like a Beetlejuice or even and they were still keeping up with DC and reinventing themselves with that, going from the superpowers line to the Dark Knight line.
When the movies came out, they did the 89 and then Batman Returns and and then they gave the contract to Toy Biz, and then they're like, "Oh no, you guys suck. I'm going back to Kenner."
Now I forgot who did the later Batman lines where they were doing. It was almost like, I guess not time travel per se, but it was like Pirate Batman, and I remember there was
the Legends of the Dark Knight line.
Yes.
I want to say that was Kenner.
Okay, because I remember being impressed by those, and that was the first Bane figure that I ever got.
Yeah, and that 6-inch one where he was with the long hair.
Yep. I wasn't a fan of the hair, but I was like, everything else on him looks fantastic. What I think one of my favorites from that line was I don't remember what he was called, because everything was like Battle Attack Batman or like Space Attack Batman. But it was the Batman that he was green. He had like a green suit, like a black helmet that went over his head and like chest armor, but he had a backpack where you pressed a button and the wings would pop up. And I thought
I do remember that. Cool. I don't know what he was called.
I remember which line, but I thought that was a cool gimmick.
Yeah,
it wasn't like super innovative, but it was a neat looking toy, and the play feature was great.
Right. And you could see, you mentioned earlier about some of the Transformer lines that were marketed under Kenner to begin with, even if you knew it was Hasbro, right?
Yeah.
But like some of that engineering in the Mask transformation of the cars going from a flying thing to a truck and doing all that. And it was a smaller scale figure, but they really made up for it with the vehicles made it's what you bought it
Yeah.
for, the vehicles.
One of my favorite things that Kenner created wasn't even their toy lines, it was their catalogs. Do you remember the catalogs that used to come with Kenner
Yes,
product? And it was just
yes,
a quick little. I remember that it had the cover. It had the logos of all the different like Nerf and yeah, like Beast Wars and Mask, and it had all those on its starting lineup. It had all those on the cover, and you would
yeah,
flip through and see like what was coming out at some point. And the great thing about, especially that period of time, was that when you got that catalog, you didn't have to wait that long for them to start appearing in stores.
right,
Like
yeah,
they had the scheduling down pat. And I remember flipping through and seeing Predators and Aliens, and I was like, holy cow, there's a Mantis alien that's coming. I
yeah.
cannot wait.
Now we got to talk about the Kenner line of Predator and Aliens.
Oh, 100%.
Fantastic.
Because you talk about kind of reinventing the game or pushing the envelope. To this day, the level of sculpting, the detailing, the like all the minute sculpting quirks that go into a toy line that you can look at and appreciate. Because we talk about when we talk about Playmates and how their sculpting, I think, is a little bit underrated because their paint jobs and their detailing really didn't highlight a lot of that really great sculpt work. The Aliens line and the Predator line, they did just a simple washing of paint on those things, brought
Yeah,
out all this incredible detailing and all the sculpting. I was just the introductory line from Aliens, where you got the gorilla alien, the bull alien, and the scorpion one, which was cool because you would press the button on the back and it would explode. So when you
right.
got the Marines,
More of those Kenner gimmicks.
and I owned none of the Marines because I wasn't interested. But
Right.
it
We
was
owned Drake. I think we had Drake.
I did kind of want, was it Atax, who had the half alien suit that he would
Yes.
fight people in? I kind of wanted that, but then I never bothered getting him. But just the detailing on those aliens was mind blowing, and they just kept it going when they introduced the Mantis alien, the Rhino alien, and then the winged Queen alien was, it was
Yeah.
just mind blowing.
And terrifying.
It really was terrifying. I'm disappointed. Yeah, I just gave props to NECA for doing the glow in the dark RoboCop. Now to throw him some shade, we never got a flying alien queen. And
Right. We don't
why?
want
Why
them to
didn't
get a
we get a
big
flying
head.
alien queen? Yeah, I mean, kudos to them.
Because
I'll
they
give
did
them.
go back. They did go back and do some of the Kenner designs, which I
Yes,
thought was cool. That was awesome.
they they did they went back and they did not only the Kenner designs, but I think they did some of the. There was a Predator that was released towards the very end of the line, and I think it was like Swarm Attack or something weird like that. But I don't think he ever. It was super duper rare, and you almost never saw him anywhere. And they did go back and they did kind of revisit that figure and release that as
Hmm.
their version of it. But yeah, the Predator line was super. The Predator line was amazing, and I loved that. I miss mailaways.
Oh yes,
I miss
Kenner did
cutting
a
out the
lot of those.
points.
Yeah,
Yeah, I miss cutting out the points on the back. I miss putting them in the envelope and sending money through the mail, even though that
and
was
they
very
started that
unsafe.
early with the superpowers. Oh no, they did it
Yeah.
with Star Wars. You had to mail away for the Emperor.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they
They
Kenner
had to
started
do
early
that.
with that. Hmm.
And it was just a tried and true method of getting people to buy more toys, to get a limited edition toy. I remember buying Predators, sending getting clipping the UPCs and sending off for
Yeah,
the camouflage Predator. And he was just a clear figure with some black around the eyes, a little like black press-on vest, some chrome weapons, and that was it. But he was so cool. I
yeah.
loved that thing.
It was cool. I'm thinking about we went through a litany quickly of movies
Mhm.
that Kenner did. They really did have the market corner. Did they do the small soldiers? Did they do the small soldiers
Yes,
figures?
yes, they did. Another line with a lot of interesting action features, and I remember when that came out, and I was really impressed with the
Oh,
figures
those
that we got.
figures. Oh, when I got Chip
But
Hazard, I was like, this is a heavy honking figure. Like he could
yeah,
get a good wallop on you.
I wish that they would revisit that toy line, and it was disappointing to me that we didn't get all of the soldiers, especially because that was a movie that was it was all CG. So I was like, why? Or the soldiers themselves, the toys were CG models, which means they already exist.
They already have the
exist.
cams. Yeah,
They already made them. So why didn't we get the rest of the troops? And I don't know if that was dictated
I love
by
that line.
sales,
That's a line I would love to. I need to get more of them. Like I have Archer and Chip Hazard and a couple others,
yeah,
but the big monsters, that purple
yeah.
rhino looking
Oh
guy,
yeah,
those figures are phenomenal.
yep.
Absolutely phenomenal. And I really do want to get the rest of them. Kenner knocked it out of the park a bunch of times, but they hit the grand salami when they did the small soldiers. You know,
Yeah.
another line Kenner did that I really liked, that was kind of goofy, was Chuck Norris and the Karate Commandos.
I forgot that they did those. I'm not surprised because I didn't collect.
They've got the kick action. You can really go through and say if they've got some sort of gimmick, like the Shadow has the glow in the dark eyes through the hat. There you go. That's Kenner. You know, you just know.
Did Kenner do the Karate Kid toys?
That was Remco.
Okay, because I always remember I remember the 2-pack of Daniel, and he had the little like board of wood, the plank of wood, and he would do
his foot would go
chop action.
Yeah. Remco did it. We have to do a Remco because Remco did a lot of cool toys, a huge variety of them.
Yes. And they were one of those companies that really kind of helped push other companies to do better, because they'd be kind of nipping at their heels, and your options were to either do better than Remco was doing, or Remco was going to pass you by, and they kind of had to rise to the occasion.
Right. Kenner did VR Troopers. Didn't they do one of those?
Yes. I think
because that's more your line. Like, you know more about VR Troopers than I do.
You know what? Not a whole lot.
That's still more than I know. I know we had one that kind of got shifted into our toy kingdom, and he wasn't a VR Trooper. He was some other character that was made up.
Yeah, because I always.
What did the VR stand for? Was it virtual reality?
Yes, virtual reality. It was. I forgot the name of the series in Japan, but it was another one of the. You know, that was a series that I think Saban actually tried to take a little more seriously than he did something like a Kamen Rider, which he just turned into idiocy incarnate. The VR Troopers actually had like a pretty decent story. There were legitimate stakes. The main bad guy was kind of I always loved it, especially in like the early 90s to the mid 90s, when if you owned a reptile, that's all you needed to make a bad guy a bad guy.
Yeah, so I'm a bad guy.
You are a bad man, sir. You own iguanas and snakes and the whole
turtles, out of my garden.
The whole nine. But the main bad guy, like he owned an iguana, and he would sit there and talk menacingly. And they tried with that one. It just didn't, it didn't catch on, because Power Rangers was the real hit. And I guess he figured, I guess I should just go big goofy, and he turned Kamen Rider into just 12 flavors of dumb. And then that was too dumb. And he said, okay, well, let me scale like 10
that back. 10 flavors would have been acceptable, but 12?
12.
Just
cool. over the top, which is a movie that I don't know if Kenner did a toy line for. Did they do a toy line
over the top? There was an over the top toy line. I don't know if it's Kenner, but man, those things on the aftermarket are expensive.
Really? For over the top figures?
Over the top figures. I mean, if you want the Stallone over the top figure, you're gonna drop $200 for it.
Does the Stallone figure have a backwards hat action? Like, does the hand go up and it turns the hat at the same time?
I don't know.
That gives you more power.
But I do want the Ox Baker figure from that movie.
I
don't know who made that line.
You need that toy line so you can reenact winning a truck and destroying your son's life. Because when you get to the end of that movie, you realize that Stallone is the bad guy.
I'm gonna look right now because I'm embarrassed that we don't know.
All right, while you do that, I'm going to talk about their Terminator toy line, because that was also really good.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's if we're doing movie lines that they kind of cornered the market on and did a really, really good job with, their Terminator line was amazing. And it's always hilarious to me that they managed, it was their job, so they kind of had to do it. But they managed to get the directive here. Take this rated R
It
series.
was Remco. It was Remco.
It was Remco. Good job, Remco. And you're like, look, you may have Terminator, but is Terminator over the top? Let us know. And then you too can, I mean, if you think about it, they're actually very similar. Here, Sylvester Stallone is trying to protect his son.
1986 Canon Films over the top Sylvester Stallone action figure Lincoln Hawks. $200. $200.
Wow! Holy moly! Not worth it. But if you keep buying him, he can. You keep buying him, he can send his son to not a private school because
right.
he's a broke truck driver who won a brand new truck that was maybe worth like $100,000 when his son was going to just inherit millions from his quote unquote evil stepdad who just didn't want him hanging out with his truck stop loser dad. But anyway,
truck stops are fun places. Terminator.
Terminator also
more cool gimmicks.
More cool gimmicks.
The one where the face and the chest fell off.
Yes. What a great kind of thinking back on it, a little disturbing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it is based on a rated R franchise that is not meant for children, and yet
right. Well, I mean, we already had RoboCop, and we talked about the Toxic Crusaders, and
it was just things that kids thought were cool, or younger people thought were cool. Oh, here's a toy. Even if you had never seen Terminator, we all knew what it was, even if we probably shouldn't have. But we all knew what it was. We all thought it looked really cool, and now there is a toy line where and you could do your fantasy crossovers. You can have RoboCop fight with Terminator because why in the world does that movie not exist?
That movie? Yeah.
How has that not existed? Maybe
the comics were a big hit.
Yeah, and the comics actually weren't that bad. Not the best, but not that bad. You're crossing over two very weird franchises.
Conceptually interesting.
Maybe they were worried that the whole they didn't want Aliens versus Predator to happen again, which is unfortunate because the comics excellent, the movies garbage.
I think they should just do the Predator movies like when Predator went to Gotham to get Batman. Like, give me that movie. When the aliens fought Superman,
I would love
give me that movie. Yeah, we'll make that happen.
You know what? At this point, just make it animated. Get the people that did Under the Red Hood, do Batman versus Predator, and I will purchase it and watch it and enjoy it.
Did the Kenner Terminator line ever do a Linda Hamilton figure?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did. It was just Terminators. They didn't make Reese either, right?
No, and I don't know if that probably came. I got to assume that came down to like the likeness rights. I don't know
what the hell else was Michael Biehn being made. Like,
I don't want my face on that. No, thank you.
But they made his character. They made Hicks for Aliens, right?
Yeah, I want to say I'm pretty sure Ripley was in. Yeah, Ripley was in the Aliens line as well.
Yeah, she came with a giant machine gun. Yeah, so they already had Michael Bihn's Kenner had it.
Mm-hmm. You know what they were really successful in making by they, I mean Kenner, gargoyles.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up.
Fantastic line.
Some pretty cool action that Goliath with the wings that comes up.
Yes,
so
decent wingspan, and that was another series where they did the initial cast, and then they were like, time to get wild. And I remember them having just weird,
weird. Yeah,
time to get nuts. You want to get nuts? Get nuts. And then they did, and like Goliath had a bazooka for who knows why.
Well, Thaylog shot a bazooka.
That does make sense. Did they make a Thaylog for that line?
No.
That is unfortunate. NECA did get the upper hand in that regard. Unfortunately, I guess if we count the numbers, who made more Gargoyles toys? Was it Kenner or NECA?
Oh, Kenner for sure.
Okay, because it is disappointing to hear, but not directly from them, that the Gargoyles line is dead.
They gave us Macbeth, so they did. What's her name? What's the girl's name?
Demona?
No. The human girl.
Oh,
Elisa. Right?
I always get it. I always say it incorrectly because there's Elisa. Like a Z in there.
Yeah, I think it's Elisa. So they gave us all the main gargoyles. Elisa, Macbeth, the rich guy,
Xanatos.
Thanatos,
Hmm.
the robot gargoyle.
Hmm.
Um,
Did they
mm,
do a gargoyle where like this, it was, you would go from like stone to flesh, where like the stone pieces would pop off?
yeah,
Like something like that existed, but I don't remember offhand.
yeah, I think they did a Goliath. They did a couple of Goliath. Oh, and Xanatos had and Macbeth had the armor that would click onto them, the
Yes.
gargoyle armor that would
Hmm.
click on, and then they had some vehicles. They had some cool stuff.
Hmm. You know what I completely forgot? And this was probably like very early in the life of Kenner, that they got Play-Doh. I
Yes,
completely forgot that they were cranking out Play-Doh, no pun intended.
Play-Doh. Yeah.
But who among us don't remember like the Play-Doh barber shop or
Oh,
the
that smell. You like if you
oh
smell Play-Doh, you
I
know instantly. You're like
know
somebody's
what it
playing with
is.
Play-Doh. Mhm.
Did you know anyone that ate Play-Doh?
No, because I ate it all myself. No, I didn't eat a lot of Play-Doh, but I did eat that peppermint scented Elmer's glue with the paddle, like when you unscrew the top, and it was that
Oh, I I never understood why anyone would eat that.
because it smelled like peppermint. It smelled like candy. Why would you make it smell like peppermint and then hand it to little kids? Of course they're gonna eat it.
Now, granted, I don't know what damage may have been done to my brain because I sure did sit there inhaling those scented markers.
I didn't do that. I wasn't huffing fumes in elementary school like you were, but I was just
Look,
I didn't huff glue. I just straight up ate it. Like
just
I
straight up ate it.
mainlined it. I mainlined
Look,
it.
look, it prepared people to work for a company named Kenner, and then you
Right.
would you get on the gargoyles line and be like, let's get to
Speaking
it.
speaking of sweetly scented Kenner products, I will admit, and this is the first time I'm admitting this out loud, that I do have a fondness for the strawberry shortcake line of
Strawberry
toys.
shortcake. It's a fun line. Who's doing it now? Boss Fight? I
Yeah, boss
think
fight.
Boss
And
Fight Studios is doing it.
I do have the purple pie
Mhm.
man that they released
Yes.
on pre-order because I loved the purple pie man when I was a kid. I really feel like that's why purple is one of my favorite colors because of the purple pie man.
No, I
Had
I
that
had
great mustache. The toy, it would pop out all the time. The
yeah.
toy with the mustache. It's hard to find him with the mustache still, but it was just a little poke. But man, that thing was that giant purple bad
You,
guy mustache.
you know who should have played him if they ever did like a live action Strawberry Shortcake movie? The guy that played Sporticus. And I don't know if he's still alive or not. But the guy who played Sporticus, who had like the really weird giant mustache that, and I never knew if he was a good guy or a bad guy because the
Yeah.
show that he was on was weird. And I never caught a full episode because my nephews watched it. So I just remember this guy who had a very pronounced mustache. And I was like, kind of like the Purple Pie Man.
Yeah.
We should play him one day.
And I used the purple pine. So when we played with the Smurfs, right, the
Mm-hmm.
little slug Smurfs and the
Mm-hmm.
clown arounds, who were
Mm-hmm.
basically the same. I love clown arounds. Um, Purple Pie Man was he was human sized because the Smurfs were 3 apples tall. The
Mm-hmm.
Purple Pie Man, who was close to probably 10 inches, 9 or 10 inches tall,
Yeah.
made sense because the Gargamel that we got to play with the Smurfs was small. He was one
Yeah.
of those slugs. So we
Mm-hmm.
had that storyline where he shrunk himself because he was a alchemist and a wizard. But
Yeah.
Purple Pie Man and the Strawberry Shortcake characters were proportionally correct to be humans against the Smurfs. So in my Smurf brain, Purple Pie Man was my big villain and not Gargamel. And since
Mm-hmm.
originally Gargamel wanted to eat the Smurfs before he wanted,
Oh, what a great crossover idea.
but then he wanted, and then he needed them to make gold. That's when they
Mm-hmm.
changed them to the alchemy, right? Or maybe I have it
Yeah.
backwards. I don't know, but I know at one
That was a
point,
weird inconsistent thing.
right, at one point he wanted to make a pie out of the Smurfs. So if they are good pie filling, it made sense that the Purple Pie Man would want to go after them.
I love the idea that in this crossover, and this is my headcanon about your headcanon, that
Ah,
the purple Pie Man is probably Gargamel's senior, Like he's the guy that watches over Gargamel. He's a senior level wizard, and his quirk just happens to be that he loves making pies. And Gargamel is desperate, and that's why he wants Smurfs for pies to bring to the Purple Pie Man, who is like an evil sorcerer.
Right, and a Purple Pie Man would control Big Mouth, who always wanted to eat, right? So Big Mouth could be fed with the pies. It all works out. Like, this is a perfect crossover.
Purple Smurf pie. I love it. This needs to happen immediately.
Yeah.
It can be both fun and dark.
I mean, I do secretly remember, like, you know, my nieces and other people would have strawberry shortcake stuff when we were both younger, and I'd be like, much like Stinkor from the Master of the Universe, right? You just never forget, like, yes,
very
strawberry shortcake, yeah.
My
smelled like lemon and strawberries and blueberries.
My older sister Tanya got marmalade.
Yes,
because of course she did. that was the one. I believe it was a birthday gift, and that, you know, of course they got her purple. They got her marmalade.
And I have 5 or 6 Care Bears in my collection.
Oh, the Care Bears.
Yeah.
So that were they Kenner as well?
They were Kenner.
They were Kenner. That is amazing. Who's your favorite Care Bear?
Remember when they did the lion, the dragon?
The cousins.
Your cousins,
the Care Bear cousins.
Yeah.
And you're like, really? Really?
Right. Because bears and lions are cousins.
Total cousins. I watched a ton of those shows. And the movie, I remember the animated movie, there was one where they were fighting some character that was like corrupting the hearts of children, and there was like a really scary storybook.
Purple Pie Man.
That would have been amazing. What an amazing crossover. Then you cross over the Care Bears with Rainbow Bright.
Right. I'm waiting for the Care Bear horror movie, like the Banana Splits one.
Oh, see, that'll be interesting. As long as it's not like the Winnie the Pooh ones where they just get it because it's public domain now and they just want to be first to do something creepy and weird with it. But unfortunately, it's also bad.
Yeah, you know what? But it's been decades, but I'll get it right. I've been working on my Care Bear stare. It's gonna happen.
So I think, what was the last thing that Kenner did? Because I remember you saying that. So Hasbro kind of put them on the shelf,
right?
And then they brought them back for the Star Wars vintage re-releases. I think
the Kiss of Death was. Okay, the hug of death leading to the kiss of death was the failed original Jurassic Park, like chaos.
Oh my lord! I completely forgot about Jurassic Park. They killed it with Jurassic Park. I remember that because they were trying to figure out a way to, because you can't own dinosaurs. And that's the goal of every like major company, is to own whatever it is that they're making and then go after anyone else that makes it. But you can't own a T-Rex and you can't own a Stegosaurus, no matter how much you want to. Man, would that be great? I wish Jurassic Park was real. I don't care how many people they ate. But
I didn't feed no more.
Yeah, I remember it was a big thing at the time because for them, because they were like, how do we make Jurassic Park toys stand out from other dinosaur toys? Because there was never a gap in the creation of dinosaur figures. So they came up with the JP mark. And that was their thing. Like, they had their own way of designing and sculpting dinosaurs. They had the action features. They had the whatever gimmick to them. But also, and I remember this from the commercials, they would say, look for the JP mark. And
but they went off script. Like, they did the chaos effect.
The chaos effect line, and then
like the Night Stalkers or Night Hunters, right, or something weird.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's I didn't work there, so this is not technically my fault. However, my thought process in as far as like toys and toy designs and the kinds of figures that are made, that's all me. I loved Chaos Theory. I love the hybrid figures. I'm so sad that we never got. I forgot the name of it. There was like an ultra scale figure that they had planned, and it was like a mega hybrid. It was part raptor. The head looked like a triceratops, but it was red, and he had fangs and sharp teeth. And it was never released because by that time the line was super dead. But I bought all those Chaos Effect figures and I loved it. And then it died. And
Yeah.
I was like, but why though?
Right, because
And
no one
that
bought
would
it
be
because
me.
it was so far off script from the movies. And then,
Yeah.
so that was the hug of death. And then the kiss of death for Kenner
Mhm.
was the overproduction of Phantom Menace figures.
Man. Well, you know what? Man, what a weird time for that to happen. Because I was both like, it was like it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I never went to a midnight Star Wars release, but it
No,
blows
they
my
did cool
mind that
things. The
those,
figures
yeah,
were awful, but they did cool things.
yeah, it blows my mind that that was a thing that existed, that you had midnight releases of toy lines and people lined up round the block. You like brought your friends, told your friends and your buddies, and brought them with you, and you waited for Toys R Us to open at midnight
Yeah.
to run in and buy a ton of toys. And it's unfortunate that yes, there were people that were excited to go and get Star Wars toys, but unfortunate that a lot of people also like this was where things, you're right, they absolutely started to turn, because you now had people getting into, same thing with the comic bubble, thinking of it as an investment as opposed to I like collecting these things. So you
Right,
had
right.
people running in and supermarket sweepstakesing them into their cart and saying, I'm just gonna,
And now you can get them for
oh yeah,
five
I'm,
dollars at Retro Relic Mint on card. But
yep,
they
I'm just gonna
still
keep these
did.
all. I'm just gonna keep them in my garage, and then I can pay for how many kids' tuition, and that is
Right.
not what happened.
And Kenner still did the weird gimmick stuff, like the
Mm-hmm.
movie cells and the
Yes.
voice chips, and
Yeah.
yeah, all kinds of weirdness with the
Mhm.
Phantom Menace figures. All kinds of stuff.
And honestly, there's things that I kind of wish would come back. Like I don't know how much that would increase the cost of the figure, but yeah, like the movie cell, like don't that's
Yeah,
really
that was pretty
cool.
cool.
There are people that collect that kind of stuff. The voice chips, I always thought was really cool.
Mhm.
I remember something similar being done for the 2000X He-Man line. 'Cause remember how every figure had a little chip in their foot? So
Yeah,
when you got Castle Grayskull, I don't remember if it said something different, or if the castle would sense whether or not it was a hero or a villain that was coming near. But that was a cool idea. And
that was a
I
cool
would
idea.
like to see more of that.
Yeah, well, we need Kenner to come back, and as you know, because Kenner, like once they died out, like the Battlematic action, like Mattel did some stuff. I mean, like
Yeah.
He-Man had stuff, but
Hmm.
that the weirdness, like let's just get weird with it. That didn't really exist anymore. Like they
Yeah.
had some weird sculpts, like the Toxic Crusaders were weird, right?
Yeah.
Goat Zone and others, like they had great sculpts that were a little bit weird, but they
Hmm.
didn't they didn't do anything weird. Like that creative engineering, like making eyes pop out and jaws open and
Yeah.
that sort of large Marge kind of they didn't they stopped doing that kind of stuff
Yeah.
until they brought it back with the Stranger Things figures, but
Oh yeah, that's right.
that was sort of
That
an
was
homage back. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting throwback.
Mhm.
Uh, so I guess I don't know. What are your final thoughts on Kenner?
I got to tell you, like Kenner, some of my favorite lines are
Hmm.
Kenner. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, from Star Wars to Indiana Jones to RoboCop, the Swamp Thing, Gargoyles.
Hmm.
I mean, you go right down that list, excluding, Mummies Alive, but everything else. Uh, I mean, even the Shadow, I love that line of figures. I
Yeah.
really do. The vehicles were sleek, they were cool, they were well
Hmm.
done, they were well thought out.
Hmm.
Um, Kenner, if I had to pick like my favorite toy producer, and maybe
Hmm.
because they gave us superpowers, which started off the collector in me, right? But
Yeah.
Kenner is probably my favorite. Like if I had to pick, I would say Kenner was probably my favorite toy producing company.
Oh, well, I'm sure Kenner would appreciate this, hearing these kind words come from you. So, question:
I thought that
If
was my
you
question.
no, yeah, I just wanted your closing thoughts. Now comes question time. What toy line from Kenner would you bring back?
All right, well, they already brought back superpowers, so that's
Yes.
going to be off. They already brought back gargoyles, so
Yes.
that's off.
Mask is on
Um,
the way.
Mask is on the way. RoboCop's been redone by NECA. Strawberry Shortcake is being redone. One toy that I do want remade is the 1983 Michael Knight talking kit car. That was Kenner.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool. But that's not really a line of figures, but that's let's see. Mask is on the way.
No $6 million man?
Nah. With inflation, he'd be like $36 million man.
Sorry, we just don't have the budget.
Yeah. You know what? If the original Swamp Thing line got the treatment that the Alien line got, that would be cool. I'd be all about that.
I agree. That is a really good toy line, and I kind of wish that I wish that before McFarlane lost the license that he would have put out a glow in the dark Swamp Thing, because I think he did the one, and then he did another one that I think has the wings. One.
He did the wings, and then he's recently did the red variant. Now DC Direct did a glow in the dark Swamp Thing back in the day.
Oh, somehow I missed that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to go track him down, because I want to glow in the dark. I want to glow in the dark Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
If I could bring back a line from Kenner, and I can't believe that I forgot about this when we were talking about it earlier, because there's so many lines from Kenner. I would bring back Bone Age.
Oh, yes!
Loved Bone Age. What a weird, strange, and again, just right in their wheelhouse. Right. What a weird line. Just dinosaur bones. Everyone loves dinosaurs, but do you love their bones? Do you want their bones to fight? Do you want a Triceratops that has horn projectile weapons? Yes, please. Sign me up.
Yes.
And now sign me up again. I just want a change nothing but updated sculpts. Give me, because I had the Deinonychus that had you'd spin around and he'd shoot his tail at you. I remember they also had like a weird pseudo third mode that was kind of a little bit of a kind of a base, but not really. It was weird, just looked like a pile of bones. So I kept them as is. But you know who comes the closest to doing that? Transformers. They had a line called Fossilizers that came out a couple years ago, and they the gimmick with them were, one, they're dinosaur bones, so they look really cool. But
I like that you have them sitting next to Decompose.
Yes, his whole setup now, like when I get around to moving the cats, the Animal Warriors away from Metlar, that's all going to be another version of Transformers that came out that are all rocks. So I feel like the Rock Lords belong up here with Metlar. Yeah. All the bone characters, the black and white versions of the Saurozoic Warriors, these are they are now dead warriors that serve Decompose in the various tar pits. But the fossilizers, you could also, not only could you transform them from they do the gimmick of transforming from a pile of bones into a robot, but they were made to pop apart, and then you could add these to other Transformer figures because they all had the 3mm ports. So you could literally take his arm off, and then you could reconfigure him however you want. And it's such a cool idea. So this is probably the closest we'll come to getting like a new version of Bone Age. But I want that to come back because it was so much fun. It was such a weird line. But then what wasn't in the 80s as far as like toys went?
Yeah, it was.
But that is what I would enjoy playing with. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys. If you've enjoyed what you've listened to, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your buddies, tell your enemies. Who cares? Tell them to go listen to some toys. What Kenner toy line would you bring back? Which one would you like? Get a hold of us on Blue Sky. Our handle is Two Guys Talking Toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. Same thing for our Gmail. You can get a hold of us on the Instagram. That's 2G Talking Toys, no G after the talking. Until next time, take care, everybody.
my God, they killed Kenner. Thanks a lot, Hasbro.
You, Hasbro, you jerks. Tell you, they did it. They did it in the dining room with an SOS Brillo pad.
Yeah.
Why?